The Blimey Cow channel has been making videos for 17 years. They've made multiple series, cartoons, an album, and made homeschooling cool. So today, I'm joined with one of the brothers, Josh Taylor. Josh, thank you so much for wanting to do this with me.
Hey, buddy. Thank you so much for having me. This is gonna be awesome.
Yes. All right, so I have a couple questions for you. What was the first video that you remember making, and why did you want to make it?
The very first video I remember we made was after we were little kids and we had watched some Western movie that was a little more violent than probably we should have been watching at whatever age we were. I was probably like 5 at the time, maybe a little bit older. My dad pulled out a camera and was like, "Let's make our own little Western movie." And so we would get ketchup, and that was for the blood and stuff like that. And so it was just kind of a way to say, hey, things in movies aren't real. They're not real life. And so that always stuck with me. So that was the first time we ever made a movie, and I just even at that young age remember thinking, man, that was a lot of fun. I want to keep doing that. So
Did you shoot it with anything special, like just like a camera that your dad had, or did he?
yeah, it would have been just whatever our old handy cams were that we ended up shooting a lot of our old videos on before 2011 when we sort of relaunched things. Everything before then was just shot with I think just like a Panasonic Handycam that had little mini DV tapes and, was not really meant for movies and YouTube and stuff. It was just meant for, going to Disney World or whatever.
After you started the channel, when did you think you would be able to work exclusively on YouTube?
Well, we relaunched it after I got out of college. And Jordan and I kind of decided we were going to make one more shot at trying to make consistent content under a more like series that might have more broad appeal that was fun for us. And so before then, we had just done a lot of like, Jordan's messages, like question and answer type stuff that was really mostly funny if you knew us as people, but nobody was watching us, so nobody knew us. Then we were doing like our brother time type series, which is like a mockumentary style series. But again, like if you just came across that on YouTube, it probably wasn't super interesting. So we decided to try the Messy Mondays format where we would just kind of take a topic every week and just talk about it and commit to doing it every week. That took off and did well for us, especially in those early days of YouTube where there wasn't quite as much content out there. People were looking for things to watch. And so we started that in 2011, and I think that I remember I quit my job at the end of 2015, but it was kind of nerve-wracking before then trying to decide, well, do I quit? How long is this going to be a thing? It's been a thing for almost 10 years now.
You were a mass comm major, right?
Yeah, I
You went
did a
to.
lot. I went to college hoping to do film, but back then, if you wanted to go do film, that meant that you had to go take like an internship in California, and you could get that done as a part of your degree. There wasn't. It's crazy how much it's changed in just a few years. But that's what it was back then, and so I ended up getting a job down at the radio station at the college I went to, which the radio was my first love before I ever wanted to do video stuff. I wanted to be a DJ on the radio. So I got a job down at the radio station, kind of got that out of my system, but it helped me learn a lot about how to do like audio editing and audio mixing and stuff like that, which is funny. Like as I've gotten older, has become a lot more of like when I do side projects and side work. That's become a lot more important that I kind of honed those skills as a teenager. Even though for many years I was like just doing video stuff and wasn't really handling a lot of sound design, mostly just stuff in Premiere. I'm not using Pro Tools or Audition or anything like that. Yeah, as the years have gone on, I've ended up realizing no, it was really good that I spent all that time in the radio station back in college. So I did radio, I did a little bit of TV, and kind of skipped the film stuff entirely, and then got out of college and started making YouTube videos, and that's basically it.
I thought that you had something in radio because when you do the like sponsored by Audible and you do it's so energetic. I'm like, he must have been in radio. That's a DJ there.
I think there's like some people just kind of naturally have that inclination, and then you can go kind of learn how to do it better. I think I just kind of naturally have that sort of voice. Like some people just kind of have a voice for that stuff. I could probably spend some time and some money getting better at speaking and doing that stuff. And I truly probably should do that kind of thing at some point. But it was still fun having, for a college radio show, it wouldn't have passed muster as much else than a college radio show, but it was cool getting to have like a nightly show that was broadcast all throughout Nashville. So all my friends would listen and stuff. It was really cool.
What would you say when you made your Messy Mondays and you did one every week, and that's a lot to do every week, especially thinking up new ideas. Did you, when you made the ones that eventually went viral or were extremely popular, did you think when you were making it, this is going to be good, this is going to be the one? Or was it just like, oh, that's cool?
I would say half the time it surprised me, and half the time I was like, okay, good, that one worked. But you always make stuff hoping that it'll do well. It truthfully, Jose, it's kind of hard to put myself back in that. It's been so long now. It's kind of hard to put myself back in that mindset. Like YouTube is so different now. You're just kind of at the mercy of whatever YouTube decides to push that day, and then whatever the masses just happen to want to see that day. It felt like there was a little bit more of a logic to it when YouTube was getting started, but now it feels a lot more just kind of haphazard. So now instead of making videos like, oh, what's something else that would blow up? What's something else that would blow up? I think that at some point that just kind of stopped happening. And so the drive or the motivation became just, okay, what's something that our audience will enjoy, or what's something that we will enjoy? And I think that's kind of a much healthier mindset. I'm glad that things changed in some ways, because that would be crazy if just, it's ever since 2011 till now 2024, I was still thinking, how do I make something blow up every week? Like that's a big stress. It's like people pleasing on steroids. It's what can I do to make the most people happy all the time?
Yeah.
It's like so happy that they're going to pay attention to me all the time. That just becomes a lot after a while. So it's kind of a tricky thing. You see a lot of people that have done YouTube for a long time eventually just quit. And I get why they do that. And, I think that at some point you just kind of have to have a paradigm shift or a mindset shift that just says, hey, I'm doing this because I enjoy it now. And I'm doing it for the people that come regularly. I'm not trying to constantly bring in new people all the time. I'm not trying to make a video blow up, because it's not a very healthy way to live. It was fun for a while. It was, especially, we were right there in like the heyday of YouTube being kind of like easier for things to blow up, which was a lot of fun. I'll always love every second of how much fun that was, but also it had to come to an end at some point. Now I feel like we're in a kind of a healthier place, getting into our 30s. I'll be 36 in a few days, so I'm closer to 40 now than I am to 30. And I've always thought about that, like as we were doing YouTube, I'm like, am I still going to be doing this and when I'm 40? And what we were doing when I was a kid, no, I don't think I will be doing that when I'm 40. But what we do now on YouTube, yeah, I can see me doing that when I'm 40. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
So yeah.
It's cool that you actually said that because that's gonna segue right into the next question. When you were younger, how did you feel when those videos were popping up all over the place and everyone maybe started recognizing you and Jordan? Was that weird for you?
Like the videos doing well, that part of it was really cool. Seeing how many views they would get, and kind of understanding suddenly that we were sort of a recognizable name on the internet. That was really cool. I didn't ever really get recognized anywhere or anything like that. Every once in a while I would. Jordan was the one who got recognized. Back then Messy Mondays was mostly him. If somebody watched our show passively, they might recognize me, but they knew Jordan. So if anybody ever came up to me, I knew that, okay, this is somebody who really likes our videos, because they know, oh, that's that guy who showed up for 20 seconds at the end of the last one. If you go back and watch our old videos and clock it, I really was more behind the camera. Now I'm a lot more in front of the camera with what we do now. We've sort of rebranded the channel as like, two brothers
Yeah.
making stuff, versus before, where Jordan was definitely the face of the franchise. So yeah, I never really got recognized, but when I did, it was cool, because it was like, oh, okay, you actually know what's up. Like you know what's going on. And so it was fun to talk to those people. I noticed too, I would never get recognized around town, but if I ever left town, I would get recognized like almost any time, like even if it was like a gas station or something. So the stories I have of getting like recognized in cool ways were like when I was on the road somewhere, which is kind of strange. But that's definitely an experience most people won't ever get to have, in life. So even just like the little bit of it I got was so cool. But also like I'm glad it wasn't much more than that, because that would have kind of gotten overwhelming. Like the degree to which Jordan got recognized was like right at that limit of like, man, I don't know if I would, how much I would like that. But Jordan was always really cool about it. And he always really enjoyed it. He loves talking to people, and I do too. But he's good at just kind of picking up a conversation with someone and asking them about them and making them feel special and stuff. He's really good at that. So yeah.
All the stories about seeing people at the store.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This is a question for, it's called The Rising Filmmaker.
Oh, great. Yeah, I meant to
Yeah.
ask you for a link to it. I was like, wait, I don't even know Jose's channel. I
I
need
was
to see.
afraid you're going to ask me for a link to that because I'm like, I don't want him to see my content. He's going to say no.
Oh,
But
dude, I I,
sorry,
I want to see it. I want to see it.
yeah, I'll have to send you a link to it then. But was wondering if you would give any tips to people like myself trying to write comedy, but more importantly, Christian or at least clean comedy, since you did that for so long.
So specifically doing comedy stuff on YouTube,
Yes.
I would just say find the things that make you laugh, and try to do those things in surprising ways that maybe people aren't expecting. Just do it in a way that feels true. Sometimes honesty is better than a good punchline, but sometimes a punchline is way better than being too honest. Maybe the best advice I can give is just to write a lot of jokes. Write a lot of jokes, make a lot of videos, find out what works, find out what doesn't.
Cool.
That definitely helped us as we went. I remember as Messy Mondays went, I would get to a point where it's like, oh, this is a video that is less heavy. Like a lot of the topics we would talk about were kind of heavy topics. And so that was fun in its own way, because it's like, well, how do we kind of make this, well, how do we bring some levity to this? But if there was just an idea that we thought, oh, this would be a funny video. Towards the end of Messy Mondays, it was like, man, let's just write some jokes then. And that became really fun, just coming up with punchlines for things. Simple setups and then punchlines. And that definitely would have been harder when we first got started. I wouldn't have even known where to begin to do that kind of thing. It's either comes naturally to you or it doesn't. But I think that the people that want to do it are the people that it comes naturally to. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that if you want to do it, you're not going to be able to do it. Like if you want to write, if you want to make jokes, if you want to be funny, that's because you've got that spark. God gave you that spark. One of my kids, I've got 3 kids. One of my kids is definitely that kind of person where like even at a young age, like he recognizes, oh, that made mommy and daddy laugh. I'm gonna keep doing that thing.
Gonna be
So
the one taking over the channel one day.
I know that's right. I'm gonna definitely pressure him to do that every day. I'm gonna just like really push that. No, I I'm like I don't really, I make as little deal as possible about like all the YouTube stuff. I don't want them to. And truthfully, it's easier now because like our channel is not like as big as it once was. Like that would have actually been a little bit nerve-wracking for me if I had the kids back when it was at the height of everything. I don't know how
Mhm.
I would have felt that. Hope that's helpful. It's hard to find good comedy out there,
Yeah, it
and a
is.
lot of times, you find something that feels funny and true, but it's also pretty raunchy, or it's got a lot of cursing in it, and you think, man,
Mhm.
because it's like it's so hard to find good stuff out there. So then if you find it, it's like, man, yeah, you don't have to lean on those kind of jokes. What you're saying is really good. And then every once in a while you find somebody who kind of gets it, like is an honest, true comedian, and then sort of like keeps it relatively clean. And you're like, even if you're keeping it relatively clean, I know that like you have that instinct to be like, hey, I know who's going to be listening to this. I don't want to like, solely everything up.
Well, that
So
was you guys for me when I was like, man, I just can't find any good clean comedians these days. And I was like, oh, these guys, that's
well,
cool.
that's cool. I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome.
For any of the videos you've made, which one did you think was the funniest?
It was always whatever was the most recent one we were doing. Because I in my head I was like, oh, I'm always getting a little bit better at this. I'm always getting a little bit better. But then if I ever asked anybody, it was like a video we did 4 years ago they liked the most, and it was like, all right. We did a video one time about, I honestly don't remember what it was called. Something about it might have been something like the 7 things that happen every time something goes viral. I think that might actually be the title of it. And uh that was a really fun video to write. We did a lot of weird things with that one. Homelessness or the poor and how people don't actually care about poor
Have
people.
reasons I hate poor people.
Yeah, something like that. I always really liked that one. I feel like if someone asked me like, "What is Messy Mondays?" I could just show them that one and be like, "This is a good representation of the show." It's like every line of this is not meant to be taken seriously, but also it is meant to be taken seriously. So I liked that one too. Those were my favorites. Anytime we did anything about an upcoming election or something or voting, I always thought those ones were funny. I like the ones that had the news
Oh yes,
broadcast.
those are really funny because even at
Yeah.
the bottom, you have like some joke running at the
I
bottom. And
know.
I just noticed that.
I always spent wait like 2 hours like no one's even gonna read these and I'm like sitting here like fretting over all these jokes. But
I
I
read
like
all
writing
of them.
jokes.
Don't worry,
Well,
I've read
oh
them all.
good, okay. I like writing jokes, so it's fun going back. Every once in a while I'll go back and watch Messy Mondays. And sometimes I'll watch them and I'm like, okay, I can see why people like this show. But sometimes I watch them and I've totally forgotten an episode and it genuinely makes me laugh. And I'm like, oh,
Uh,
that's cool. Because we did so many of them. We've
yeah,
done so many of them that a lot of times I don't remember them very well at all. And so they can actually kind of surprise me. It's funny get like laughing at your own joke that you didn't remember that you made.
that's cool because usually when I finish editing a video, I'm like, this isn't funny anymore.
I mean,
This is
that's a hundred
horrible.
percent. That's 100% how I feel too in the moment. But yeah,
Yeah,
with the benefit of hindsight, it makes all things better.
good to know at least. Maybe
Yeah,
one day I'll look back and be like, this is okay.
yeah,
Maybe. What
yeah.
would you say, since you like writing comedy, but you've also done a bunch of other stuff on your channel, what would you say as a movie really inspired you? And I mean, a movie that's a little off the beaten path. Like I know The Dark Knight and The Matrix and
Sure, sure,
those type of
sure.
movies are always
Yeah.
inspiring, but
Well, when we were wanting to start the Blimey Cow channel, the reason we started it was for a couple of reasons. One, we it was you could finally get video editing software. They had finally released some that was not very good, but it was at least not thousands of dollars. Like, and it could be run on a computer. Like when I was a teenager, that was a new thing, because computers were still decently slow. There was no editing software. It was made for professionals, and they had just started, somewhat recently creating like software for it. A lot of times, like back in the old days, this stuff was cut, clipped, and all this like the actual film reels and stuff. Anyways, around the time I was 16, and that's when companies like Roxio and stuff started making like consumer video editing software that that you could buy for like under $100, which was the most important thing. And so once I got some of that, I was like, well, I want to just start. This is all I want to do. I just want to make videos and stuff. It was around that same time, around 2004, 2005, that the movie Napoleon Dynamite came out, which I just like studied that movie because they made it for under $1 million. And so it was like, which, that's still a lot of money, but still most movies are made for a lot more than $1 million that people have seen. So I loved it because I thought, man, I could have written this movie. Like this is so dumb and weird and people like it. I could have done that. And there was that. And then I really liked the style of the show The Office, which started the American version started in 2005. I just thought that was so funny, like that mockumentary style of shooting things. And in my head, I thought, well, that's perfect because we've only got a home video camera. So the whole joke could be it's a home video camera just recording these kids' lives. That could be a part of the appeal of it. And so that's what we did. That I we kind of took the comedy style of Napoleon Dynamite and then the video style of The Office, and we said that'll be what our videos are. So those two things were certainly the most inspiring of anything. I don't know what's the most inspiring thing to me now, but like when we were starting the channel, those two things certainly were the biggest things in my head while we were making anything.
I watched The Office once or twice, and I was like, yeah, that's cool that you guys were inspired by that.
Hmm.
I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that they were interviewing each other and interacting. It is like didn't click for me watching The Office, but for you guys, it's like, oh, this is funny. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure that you're inspired by that.
Yeah.
Uh, Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
have you ever watched the channel Sticks?
Sticks?
Sticks.
I don't I don't think so.
Well, you see, they do these videos on if a YouTuber's life was a movie.
Oh, okay.
And I thought they did one for Matt That when he retired. And I thought it was really cool. And so I thought, what if I could do something like that? But what if I did a spoof
Uh-huh.
instead? And so I was thinking, like, okay, who would I do a spoof of? Who would I do a spoof of? And one of my favorite comedy channels is you guys. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'll do a spoof of Blimey Cow. And then to take it one step further, I'd interview them and then send it as a link to their email and catch their reaction on
Is
Word.
it done now? Is it
Yes,
ready?
it is. It's at your email, hopefully. Should be.
Hold on.
This is
Let's
the
see.
big moment.
Oh man, I can't wait to see this. There it is. Got it. All right, here we go.
Oh, I have a surprise for you. I made a Messy Mondays video on a Wednesday. Today's Tuesday. Now, swoosh.
Big head
If you
kid.
remember from our previous video, who once gave you 7 reasons why being a teenager is the worst. But now we're all adults, moving out, having families, growing, living. And you know what? Being an adult is hard too. So now we're gonna give you guys 5 reasons why being an adult is the worst. Number 1, responsibilities. Back in the day, our parents gave us responsibilities and we did them. Maybe it was for money and maybe it was just to get food, but not anymore. Now, when you clean your house, you get the wonderful, wonderful feeling of satisfaction. Time to shop for that new lamp. Number 2, free time.
Good delivery.
Free what? What time? Free time? We don't have free time. We don't get free time anymore. All right. I can get to bed at 10. That means I can wake up at 6 to get to work by 7, so I can leave by 5.
Oh,
I get home by 7, so I can eat dinner at 8, so I get to
that's
bed at 10.
so true.
So that can be almost functioning tomorrow. Number 3, taxes. When you're a kid, you don't have taxes because you're a kid. But then suddenly, on one magical day, the government just can't live without you. And before you know it, the nickel and diming all of your hard-earned money.
Hey, what you got there, buddy?
Oh, this is the money that I spent all week working towards.
Oh, great. I'll take some of that.
What? That was all the money that I had. I spent 9 hours working towards that.
Oh, did you think that you would make this money without me?
I made it in spite of you. Number 4, where do you live? Some of you out there may still be blessed enough to live with your parents. Sooner or later, one of 2 things are going to happen. Either A, you're going to move out of your parents' house, or B, you're going to inherit your parents' house. Either way, sooner or later, you're going to be on your own. For other people, you're gonna have to decide where you want to live, which is great because safety is at an all-time high and housing prices are really low for young home buyers. Just sitting there, scrolling through Zillow, looking at houses that you know are going to take 10 years just to put a down payment on. Being an adult is great. Number 6, jobs. This probably could have been higher on the list. Many of us had a job before we left high school, but now that job is our main source of income. And if you can get a job you love, that's great.
Hey, what was with the air quotes?
Air quotes.
Yeah, why'd you put them around there?
That's because the honeymoon phase only lasts so long before you realize that you're working. And when that happens, you'll be like the rest of us. And your only bright spot on Monday is going to be.
Oh, bloopers too? I love it. It is recorded.
Hey, what you got there, buddy?
Oh,
Let's try that again. I tried to grab it before.
That's like exactly how it is, bro.
Hey, what you got there, buddy?
Oh, this is the money that I spent all week working towards.
I'll just take some of that.
Oh, you're standing in front of the camera.
Like oh, I can see Jordan's back.
All right.
You're so funny. You hardworking citizen.
We wake up to go to work, get home exhausted, so we can wake up the next day to get to work and do it all over again. Number 4, where do you live? A. Either you wake up, you work, you come home exhausted from said work, and then go to sleep so we can wake up the next morning and do it all over again. You have to decide where you live, which is great because housing prices are really low and safety is at an all-time high. No, I said that backwards. We We wake up, we work, we come home exhausted from said work, and then we wake up, we work, we come home exhausted from said work, so we can get some sleep, so we can wake up and do it all over again. Many of us had a job before we left high school. I'm not too good on these lines. Oh man.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Dude, that was so funny. Wow, thank you for making that. That was so funny.
What was the funniest part of the video?
My favorite part was the tax part where she said, "You don't think you could make this money without me, right?" And you said, "I made this money in spite of you." The way you said that was funny, and it was a good line, just in general too.
I think I watched every Messy Mondays episode just to try to get the mannerisms for Jordan right.
Yeah.
And it's weird because his mannerisms actually change and you like watch.
Oh yeah, interesting.
Because he ends up doing the lines longer. Because when he first starts, he's like, cut, cut, cut. And I was like,
I'll tell you exactly what happened. One day we got a teleprompter. And once we got a teleprompter, the cuts got a lot longer.
That's cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
And honestly, it made it a lot more where, which you would think it would be the opposite of this, but it actually made it a lot more where Jordan could improvise lines because it wasn't just like trying to remember one sentence at a time. Because it's hard to improvise when you're just doing one line, as I'm sure you kind of learned doing it. But when you could just see the text on the screen and you're kind of reading lines that have been written, you know, he could play around with it. He could do goof off or whatever and be like, oh, let's do a take where I do this. Because now it's not just like get the line right one time. It's like, hey, well, yeah, we can get the line right, but let's do it like this instead. So it really made it a lot more collaborative as it went on, which was cool. But yeah, you can definitely tell when that teleprompter arrived.
So glad you liked the video. And I also want to say two other things. I always thought that background was actually wood.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh, they have such a nice rustic little wooden background. That's
Wait,
cool to
this one
know.
right here or the Messy Mondays background?
That one right there.
Oh, this, yeah, no, that's like a photo sheet or something like that. Like you would
That's
see
cool.
it.
Where do you get those from? Because I tried to.
I got it on Amazon. I had to buy a couple of them to find one that I liked.
Yeah, I just used a black table sheet.
Oh, okay. You're asking. We don't use this for Messy Mondays. This isn't for Messy Mondays. This is what we use for the podcast. So, this area when we did mostly Messy Mondays, it had just black sheets like what you're talking about. But now since I took those down, I can't really show it right now, but I got like a pull up, another kind of photo booth type thing. It's a pull up black matte thing. It's smaller though, so the Messy Monday shot has to be a little bit tighter. So anyways, but that's if we want to shoot Messy Mondays, we have something for it. I think we've used it once or twice since we got it, but yeah.
Fortunately, the meeting time is about to cut off.
I see that. Yes.
Yes.
It's warning you.
It's like, hey, listen up. Cut it off now. But thank you so much for being willing to let me interview you. I hope you enjoyed the Messy Mondays. I'll send you the link to, you should have.
I've got the link. Oh, and I will treasure it. I'm going to show my children. They're going to think that's hilarious.
Okay. And maybe you could even show Jordan on.
I'm going to send it to Jordan as soon as we're done with this too.
Okay, cool. I hope you guys like it.
We love it, dude. Thank you so much for
Thank you
doing that.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.